And welcome everybody here to News Now from Fox. We're just monitoring this situation coming out of Bryan, Texas. About 2 hours ago, 2:30 in the afternoon Central Time, we're learning that officers responded to this business and found several victims. So multiple people shot here. We're just getting these live pictures at the moment from the scene on the ground. Suspect, though, we're learning, still at large. Police searching for the suspect. We don't really have a sense of what that manhunt looks like at the moment, but we're learning from Lieutenant Jason James with the Bryan Police Department. He just briefed the public and reporters about 20 minutes ago. No law enforcement officer was injured at this initial scene you're looking at right now, but that 6 ambulances were called. There have been reports that 6 people are possibly injured. This is a very fluid event still because the suspect is still at large.
Alex, will you say that one more time?
And we've been in contact with our local affiliates, our Fox affiliates there in Texas, around the area, and we're hoping to get some more live pictures from different vantage points, but this is what we know so far. Reports of multiple people shot at a Texas business, and the suspect remains at large, not in custody. We're learning a little bit more as well about the type of business where this occurred. We're learning that this was at Kentmore Cabinets, and we apologize there. Looks like the local reporter on the scene is getting into the shot. We do have a map that we want to show you as well. This is kind of a brief, overview of where this actually occurred. It's not very far from Texas A&M University in College Station, Texas. We were also learning per police that a nearby school was in lockdown as officers tried to get this situation under control. That lockdown has been lifted. Current time on the ground there, 4:20 p.m. in the afternoon on this Thursday. So we're working to get more information for you. Hopefully we'll have live aerial pictures of the scene in just a matter of minutes here, but this is the Google Maps view of where this all took place. Not too far from Texas A&M University in College Station, Texas, but this happening in Bryan, Texas. For those of you just joining us, I'm Andrew Kraft with News Now from Fox. We've been monitoring reports of multiple people shot at a local business in Bryan, Texas. The suspect still at large. Officers responded to that business. It's called Kentmore Cabinets. They make kitchen cabinets, bathroom cabinets, the like. They found several victims. We do not know the condition of those victims at the moment. It's a very fluid event still, as you can imagine, because the suspect or suspects, we don't know if it's just one person or multiple, are still at large. Bryan Police Department Lieutenant Jason James telling the press that no law enforcement officer was injured there at the initial scene. Let's go back to the ground view of the scene itself. We do have those live pictures. And here it is. You can kind of get a sense of what it looks like on the ground. I know this is a very zoomed out view, but you can see emergency vehicles, some law enforcement vehicles there you can see right there. And it looks like we do have aerial pictures as well. And we just lost them. We'll bring them up once we have it. Working to confirm that that is the shot there. But as you can see, multiple police vehicles responded. Possible witnesses there on the phone, most likely trying to contact people that they know at this business or other employees that they might have worked with. Those could be employees as well, so we just don't know. But here's what we do know. At approximately 2:30 in the afternoon local time, this is Central Time, this is in Bryan, Texas, officers responded and found several victims, multiple people shot. Suspect still at large. And it does look like we have aerial pictures of the scene. I'm going to bring those up right now. And here you can kind of get a sense of what looks like a massive, sprawling business complex, really. From what I understand, at the scene itself, that is now under control. And we lost the shot there. We apologize. I'm going to bring up the map once again. All right, and there you can see we have better pictures of the scene itself. Let's take our local reporter there live on the scene, giving a report right now.
Police and giving statements, but a good number of employees are still there at the facility where those shootings took place this afternoon. A former employee told me a little bit ago that there are about 200 to 300 people who work inside that facility. So, you know, the sources that we spoke with said at least 6 people were shot. And that could have been a whole lot worse considering the number of people who were in there. As far as the victims, again, 6 that we know of. We are being told that there were a few who are in critical condition, but that's all the information we've been given about the victims. A lieutenant with the Bryan Police Department said that most of the victims should have gone to St. Joseph Hospital in Bryan, where they're being cared for. As far as the extent of the injuries, police aren't going into a whole lot of detail other than what our sources say, and that is that there are a few who were in critical condition. Erica said that the search for the suspect is ongoing. Of course, we don't have a motive. There's no idea if there was any kind of a connection that the gunman had to the business here. The only thing that we're being told is that there is still an active search for someone who at 2:30 this afternoon walked into Kentmore Cabinets and opened fire on multiple people. We'll certainly keep you up to date. We're supposed to get an update from Bryan Police again here shortly, so as soon as that happens, we'll have it on air and online. Erica?
All right, so there you just heard from the local reporter there on the scene in Bryan, Texas, that around 200 to 300 people, employees who work inside this business, were there when this shooting happened. The suspect walked into Kentmore Cabinets and fired at multiple people. Still not much information yet on the condition of the victims. You heard there that a few are in critical condition. We don't have a number on that. Most of the victims, according to that reporter there, were transferred to the local hospital, St. Joseph's Hospital. And like he said, there's really little information as far as the suspect's motive or the suspect's possible connection to the business or the people who work in this business. And at this moment, the suspect is still at large. We don't really have a sense or a good sense yet of what that manhunt is looking like at the moment, or how many agencies are involved, and kind of the mileage that law enforcement is traveling to make sure to get that suspect. We don't have those details. And there you can kind of just see that this is a massive commercial complex, and there's just members of law enforcement walking around, deliberating, commiserating, trying to get a sense of what exactly happened here at 2:30 this afternoon, Central Time in Bryan, Texas. Earlier, you saw what presumably was many of the employees at this business away from the scene, kind of seated on that grassy knoll there. But looks like the police tape is up in what looks like to be kind of a cargo loading, unloading dock for this business. Kentmore Cabinets, a maker of cabinets there in the area. And there's a better view of the scene itself. And like I said, I just wanted to reiterate, that is a massive business industrial complex there. As you can see, multiple police units and vehicles still on the scene, even though we learned from Bryan PD that the situation inside is under control. What remains fluid is the search for the suspect. And this is Andrew Kraft here with NewsNOW from Fox. If you're just joining us here on this Thursday afternoon, we're following and monitoring reports out of Bryan, Texas, of multiple people shot. And this is what we know so far. The suspect still at large. Bryan PD saying that inside this local business there, Kentmore Cabinets, someone walked in and opened fire. Several victims. We don't have a sense of the status of the condition of the victims right now. The reporter we just heard from on the scene said a few are listed in critical, but we don't have a hard number yet. we were also learning that a nearby school was put on lockdown as the situation unfolded. That lockdown has been lifted. Just going to take these aerial pictures now live so you can see. And we do have pictures of that school. It was a long intermediate school that was placed on lockdown. There you can see it in your upper left. Now that lockdown has lifted. It's about a little after 4:30 local time. This is about 3 miles from Texas A&M University, near College Station, Texas. So hopefully the Bryan police do brief reporters and the public a little later. We just heard from them. They spoke for about 5 to 7 minutes, not very long, giving us some preliminary information. As far as law enforcement is concerned, the lieutenant there, it looks like the lieutenant there told us that no law enforcement officer was injured at the scene. Let's listen into Lieutenant James from earlier.
Area, checking the building, looking for more victims. Right now, the subject is at large, and we have more information coming in. This is a fluent event still, so we're still trying to get some more information for y'all. But we're asking that everybody stay away from the area. I know we're kind of set off of FM 2018, but we still ask that there's no extra traffic coming through that could impair the officers or the first responders and medics.
Sergeant, is there any description of a suspect, and do we know if there's more than one person that you're looking for at this time?
I do not know that at this time. Right now, we feel that the scene is safe behind me, so we believe everybody left. We're just trying to piece together what exactly took place leading up to this. So I don't have the suspect information or description at this time. Maybe in a few more minutes, as we make some phone calls, we can get some more for you.
What do you say to the family and friends of people who work there? Is there some place they should be going, or somebody they should be calling to check on their...
Right now, a lot of the guys are down there. They're being interviewed about what took place.
The employees?
Employees.
Okay.
Yeah, a lot of employees are down there, so they're working through that. If you can reach them by phone, you can. If not, just give us time and we'll get some more information to you.
Has there been any law enforcement that has been injured?
No, ma'am, not here. At this site, law enforcement showed up. It was already over with.
Can you tell me how many ambulances or pieces of equipment came?
I know a lot came, but I don't know the number of ambulances. Do you know the number of that?
Last I heard, we were at 6, and I think that pretty much was able to manage
Yeah,
it.
six ambulances
Who all
arrived.
responded?
Right now, pretty much everybody from Brazos County. We had College Station respond, Bryan PD respond, Texas A&M University, the constables, Brazos County Sheriff's Office. Everybody respond, DPS. They all responded here to assist.
Do we know, is there anybody who didn't survive?
I don't know that one. I just know there's several victims. I know if some were transported to St. Joe's, so we'll just have to wait to see their status.
Any condition of any of those who were injured?
I do not know. No, sir.
Can you say if all of the injured are employees of Kitmore Cabinet, or?
I cannot say that. I cannot say if they all are or not.
Do we know anything yet on if the suspect had a connection to this business?
I do not. They're still the detectives are down there. We're just letting the investigation play out so we can get all that information of what caused this, how it developed, who's all involved. We're still working on getting that information out.
Obviously, your agency prepares and trains for something like this. Can you talk just a little bit more in general about what kind of a response you send to a scene such as this one?
Any large scene like this, and I say it's large just because of the building. You have multiple entrances and exits, and we practice that. We talk about which location that officer's going in to make sure we're communicating to other officers. We train with the Bryan Fire Department so that we are able to link up with them once it's safe, get anybody that's injured out safely, and have those medics on scene. So this is something that we train for, I would say once, twice a year. For the last few years, it's something that we work on of working with multi-agencies, because we know, and even through the past events in Brazos County, that all agencies respond. So we try to work with all of them, communicate with all of them. Everyone knows what they need to do when they get there.
The school across the street, what happened with them?
I imagine they're on lockdown. I did not confirm that. Now that the scene's a little different from what it was earlier today, they might be able to already been releasing students.
Lockdown has been lifted. Yeah.
Yeah. So I would imagine at the very beginning it was on lockdown just for safety concerns.
Anything on what type of weapons the suspect had?
No, sir. I do not.
Final question for me. What's happening at this point? Like, what's happening right now at that scene?
When I went down there was a lot of employees, and so a lot of detectives are coming in and interviewing all of them. What they see, what they hear, just working through the investigation of what took place. If it was mobile, if it went through different rooms, just the basics of trying to figure out what's going on. So right now we have the scene set up. We're going to be doing interviews, and then we're going to be looking into the crime scene, come out there and collect all the evidence.
I don't know if it's been mentioned, but do you know what time this all took place?
The first call came in approximately at 2:30 p.m.
We know what the number of injuries, was there any state or
I do
federal?
not. All I know is it's just several injuries.
When can we get confirmation on the amount of injuries that have been reported?
Hopefully here pretty soon. Once we get through this interview, I can start making some phone calls, find out more information that's coming in that they have down there that we can release.
And they're
So it'll be fluent. We'll be releasing more information as we go.
And they're sending everyone to St. Joseph.
That's where they should be going. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And to bounce off to your question, is there any federal law enforcement agency, FBI, or anybody who's been called in to help?
No, sir.
Okay.
Any other ones? I'll get back with y'all as soon as I can on this. I appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Thanks, sir. Appreciate you. Brazos transit bus that came up, and my guess there is that they're going to start transporting some of the people that police have talked to now away from this scene. So the big thing we want to let everybody know at this point is if you have a loved one who is there, who was working this afternoon,
And it looks like we do have a press conference that's going to start very, very soon here, but hopefully they can offer a little more information, more details on this scene. It's an active investigation. We know the suspect is still at large at this moment. We're learning about 200 to 300 employees were in the business at the time of the shooting when the suspect walked into Kentmore Cabinets and opened fire. All of the victims there transported to local hospitals. And so it looks like police are going to brief the press and the public. So let's listen in.
To Kentmore Cabinets of an active shooter. Officers responded to the scene and arrived in a fairly short period of time. However, the shooter had gone by the time officers got here. They did, however, discover some people hurt that had been shot. Initially, 4 people were transported to St. Joe Hospital in critical condition with gunshot injuries. One other person was transported with no injuries, apparently it was an asthma attack, and 1 person was deceased at the scene. Right now, this is a joint effort between multiple agencies. College Station PD's here, Bryan Fire's here, and many more that I'm missing here responded to assist working this scene. As you can imagine, it's very complex because you have a whole number of workers at the warehouse, and so we're sorting through all that and interviewing witnesses and talking to people that know what happened.
Chief, can you provide information about a suspect or suspects at this point?
It's a little bit early for that, but we believe there may be a suspect in custody, but we're still working on that, and that's working with DPS, who I should have mentioned was helping out obviously today also.
Is there any connection with the DPS involved incident in Iola involved in this case?
I can't confirm that, but they may be related.
Is there expected to only be one suspect involved in the situation?
We're still investigating that. We know obviously at least 1 suspect. I've heard reports there might have been a couple other people in the later stages of what occurred, but I don't know that for sure.
Any idea at this point a motive or if this suspect had a connection with Kentmore?
We really don't know the motive. We're still investigating that. I believe that the suspect was an employee of Kentmore, I believe.
Can you tell us what type of weapons he had? He had rifle, handgun, other?
I cannot. I don't know that information right now.
And what does this mean for the workers? Are they being released slowly, or how's that working?
Well, obviously we're talking to everybody, and as we talk to them, and as soon as we can release them, we will release them.
You mentioned the warehouse area. Obviously, this is kind of a big campus. Can you be more specific about where the shooting happened?
I don't necessarily know how to do that. It was, in one of the bays at the plant where they're making the cabinets.
Do you have the name of it, of the building?
Kentmore Cabinets.
The victims, can you confirm if they are all employees of Kentmore Cabinets?
I cannot. I don't know that information, Rusty.
Anything that should be relayed to the families of employees, if there's somebody who they can get a hold of, should they be going somewhere? Or?
We're working on putting together a phone number that they can call. We don't have that quite together yet, but we're working on a phone number so they can call and check on their loved one.
I asked Lieutenant Jason James earlier about this, but talk about, in general, a police department's response to something like this. Obviously, you train for situations like this. How did all that help with the response today?
Well, it's changed over the years. Officers now, when there's something like this, which was an active shooter, officers respond immediately to it. They don't necessarily wait to put together a team to go in. They go in 1 or 2 at a time as they get there, because we know that if we can get in there and stop it, will save lives.
Was there any state or federal agencies aiding at all in this?
I know that the FBI offered, and they may or may not have been. I just haven't seen them, but I know that we've received calls from several federal agencies and other agencies offering to help.
All victims at St. Joe?
I believe so.
And I just want to confirm 6 total. So 4 at the hospital, 1 was not injured with the asthma attack, and then 1 dead.
Deceased. That's correct right now.
Okay.
And then do you know which St. Joseph Health location they were taken
I'm assuming the the main hospital.
Fort of Bryan, one college.
Thank you.
Do you know if the suspect fled on foot initially or in a vehicle, or how they got away from Kentmore?
I believe in a vehicle, but I don't have that specific information.
Chief, how would you describe the level of risk to the broader community in this spring?
I mean, if the suspect's in custody, then the risk is pretty low. If he's not in custody, then I think everybody should be cautious, but they should always be cautious.
Do you know how long it took the police to respond once the initial call came out on the active shooter?
I don't know that time, but I know it was pretty quick because I was listening to the radio and heard it, but I don't know the exact length of time.
What's happening right now? What are everybody?
Right now, we're working the crime scene. We're interviewing witnesses. We're trying to keep people hydrated, include witnesses and police officers hydrated, because it's obviously pretty warm out, as you guys very well know. So it just takes a long time to put in a spread out scene, which is a fairly spread out scene. It takes a lot of work and a lot of time to put it all together.
Is the suspect believed to have resided in Iowa?
I don't know that information.
And for the case of the helicopter here still hovering and people driving by, what should they know about that, and how that should impact them in any way?
I assume that's a media helicopter. So.
Anything else, Steve?
No, I appreciate you being out here, and I think you got water, right?
Anticipate any other big updates this afternoon? What the situation is they are anticipating on maybe today?
If we have something to update, we certainly will. And I don't have any way to predict that.
Chief, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, you've been listening to a news conference from Bryan Police. Showed up at work today and opened fire. There were 4 people who were critically wounded. Another person who.
All right, so we just learned from Bryan, Texas police there on the scene that 1 person died at the scene, 4 were taken to local hospitals in critical condition. 1 was also transported for a non-injury asthma attack. Suspect was gone when Bryan police arrived on the scene. Police also believe that the suspect was an employee of the business. So remember, we were learning or trying to figure out if there was some connection to the business itself. Also, you heard from police there that said they believe the suspect may be in custody, but they were not sure. They couldn't confirm that information. Remember, we've been reporting that the suspect was still at large, but you heard from police just in that news conference that he had maybe heard if the suspect was in custody, but they could not confirm that information for us. Also learning that, like I just said, the suspect had fled the scene before officers even got there. He also said they're working on providing water and aid to many of the employees that you can still see. You see those charter buses right there, still kind of waiting on the scene, and police are assisting with them as well. But this is what we know so far. 1 person dead, 4 victims transported to the local hospital in critical condition in this workplace shooting on this Thursday afternoon in Bryan, Texas. These live aerial pictures are coming to us from our Fox affiliate, Fox 26 in Houston. And we thank them for that. They got on the scene as quick as they could. This is Kentmore Cabinets, a massive business complex where that suspect walked in there this afternoon, shot multiple people. And we heard from Bryan, that was Bryan Police Chief Eric Buskey talking, answering questions from reporters about what exactly transpired this afternoon there We know the suspect, they believe, was an employee of the business. And so right now, it's an active investigation into getting the suspect into custody, apprehending that person. He was also asked if multiple suspects could be involved. He didn't have an answer on that as well. And so now we'll be monitoring any more information on the conditions of the other 4 victims. They're in critical condition at the moment. We'll update you on if we learn if their condition either worsens or improves. But at the moment, a very active situation there on this Thursday afternoon in Bryan, Texas. We're going to leave these scenes up for you at the moment. This is News Now from Fox, where we are live, raw, and unfiltered. And we're going to work on getting some more information at the moment. Thanks for being with us.
Around the scene, looks like he's about to do a lot.
We do have a reporter there on the scene. We heard from him a little earlier. He's about to go live with an update. Let's listen into that.
Yeah, Carla, just about 10 minutes ago, Bryan Police Chief Eric Buskey gave us an update saying that the suspect, who probably is an employee here at Kentmore Cabinets, is now in custody. We didn't get any other information at this time, but the police chief saying that they do believe that the suspect in today's mass shooting is an employee of Kentmore Cabinets who walked in at around 2:30 this morning and then began opening firing on several people. This is the latest information we have. As you announced, there is one person who is deceased. There are 4 who are in critical condition. There was a 5th gunshot victim who is non-critical, and there was a 6th person who was sent to the hospital due to some medical and asthma related issues. Clay Falls is behind the camera. We're going to go ahead and start looking at some of the video we shot just a second ago, but what we've been able to confirm is that about 2:30 this afternoon, this suspect walked into the Kentmore Cabinets here on Stone City Drive, and then for an unknown reason began shooting multiple people. We asked the police department if all of the victims are employees of the business, and he said he did not know that at this time. But we are now taking a live look at the scene here, and you can see a number of employees who are out here. A former employee told me that at any given time there are dozens of people who are at work, but altogether this location, the manufacturing facility here on Stone City Drive, employs about 200 to 300 people. Now, the police chief said if there is someone who is related to an employee and you've not heard from that employee just yet, to be patient. The police department's going to start setting up a phone number for people to call. What is likely happening is a lot of these employees out here who were here when the shooting happened are now having to give statements to detectives, and the police are now inside collecting evidence and trying to answer what we're all asking, and that is why an employee of this facility walked in this afternoon armed with an unknown type gun and then just began opening fire. I spoke with a couple of employees just about 30 minutes ago. They said they were out in the field. They were doing work at other businesses and other homework. That's what Kentmore Cabinets does. But they got a phone call from their supervisors saying, "Come on back. We're gonna end all work for the day." And so all employees who were out in the field when this happened have been called back in. So that is the very latest. 1 deceased here, 4 critically injured, 1 non-critical, and then a 6th victim in the hospital with some asthma-related issues. And the suspect, according to Bryan Police, now in custody. Carla.
So there you heard it right there, that the suspect is in custody, according to Bryan, Texas police. It was an active investigation rather, and you heard from the police a little earlier that they thought the suspect was in custody. Now they're confirming that that indeed is the case. Remember, police also told us that the suspect had fled the scene before any law enforcement got there. And so we'll be monitoring the situation as well, just to get a sense of who that suspect is and hopefully find out a possible motive. Remember, we're learning the suspect was a possible employee at Kentmore Cabinets in Bryan, Texas. And so hopefully we'll have a little better information on the motive this afternoon. And so there you can see police, looks like they're having, implementing kind of a drone in order to kind of capture the scene itself on video. Police also inside gathering evidence. We also saw scores of employees kind of resting on the opposite side of the building, and what police are doing is taking witness statements. Remember, we reported that 200 to 300 employees were in the facility at the time the shooting occurred. And for those of you who are just coming to this story at the moment and joining us here on NewsNOW from Fox, here's what we know so far. About 2:30 local time there in Bryan, Texas, a suspect entered this business complex, Kent Moore Cabinets. It looks like warehouse distribution facility and opened fire, hitting a number of victims. We learned that from police just a matter of minutes ago, one victim died at the scene. 4 were transported to local hospitals in critical condition. The suspect, we're now learning, is in custody. We don't have a sense of what that manhunt looked like. I'm sure we'll be hearing from police a little later on that and some more details on who this suspect was and hopefully some indications of a possible motive. But we do know the suspect was an employee. And so right now, police are still on the scene, gathering evidence, taking witness statements from employees. This is a massive commercial property. Over 200 to 300 employees were in the facility at the time of the shooting. That was what, according to police, told us. And so right now, they're combing the scene for more evidence, capturing in photo video of the scene as well. And the biggest news out of this right now, a suspect is in custody. That was a part of the active investigation. For about the last 3 hours, we learned that the suspect had left the scene before police got there. And so we're going to be talking to some experts in law enforcement about what exactly goes into a manhunt. What do police look for? What do police try to ascertain about a possible motive or background of who they think could have done this? Let's listen from one of the witnesses right now. The local reporter we've been hearing from is speaking to.
Did you find out that this happened?
I actually got a phone call, and I just got a phone call that someone was inside the plant shooting. And then from there, they just told us to pull on side the road and just stay put, until further notice.
So you were away, you got a phone call saying everybody come on back.
Yes, sir, really. Yeah, that's pretty much what it was. We got to go get a fuel over there at the rider, and they just said just come the long way around and park here.
Jamarcus, you've been working here at Kenmore Cabinets, you said about a year and a half.
A year and a few months.
Explain for our viewers who don't know the setup there, how many people work there? What's it like inside?
We actually have a few departments. We have the shipping department, we have shipping, we have the assembly line, and then we have a stain and a painting. Okay. So it's probably about anywhere from like 100 people to 120 people.
A lot of moving pieces.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
The police department told us that it was an employee who went in and did this. Do you not naming names? Don't name any names.
I'm
but
not too sure about about because we're actually kind of separated.
Okay.
So the shipping department is just the shipping. So that's all it is. We really see is the shipping, and then the assembly line they just work with the assembly. So it's kind of separated. So we really don't get to see the different departments.
Is there security at the building or?
Yes, sir. We actually have a gate that, and they give us a badge that, you a scan, but you can actually just sit there and you can wait on somebody else to slide it and you can come straight in.
Final question. Your thoughts? How are you holding up?
I'm holding up okay. It just kind of just kind of shocked me because I wouldn't expect this kind of thing to go on over there at Kenmore Cabinets, Right.
Jamarcus, I'm glad you're all right, my friend.
All righty, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Good to see you. Thank you for your time. And again, just wrapping up the situation at Kenmore Cabinets today, a mass shooting incident that took place this afternoon. We've got much more at kbtx.com, and we'll have more throughout this newscast. Back to you.
You want to get his last name?
All right, there you just heard from one of the witnesses, who I believe is an employee, saying he can't believe something like this happened on a day like any other day. And so for those of you who are trying to get up to speed with this story here out of Bryan, Texas, this mass workplace shooting, we know now one person died on the scene there and 4 victims were transported to local hospitals in critical condition. And so right there, you can see some of those, on the opposite side of those charter buses, those green buses, Those are all employees, I believe, and police are waiting to either interview them and get their witness statements about what they saw today when that suspect walked in to Kentmore Cabinets and opened fire. We heard from police a little earlier. They believe the suspect was an employee. And so we're still trying to learn about a potential motive. We don't know what he could have done there at the facility. And so it looks like we are losing our aerial pictures at the moment. This is, we want to thank Fox 26 Houston, who flew their chopper out just in time to get on the scene. We do have another picture of the scene itself. A little bit zoomed out, though, at the moment. And so this is what we're going to be looking for in the hours ahead, going into late Thursday afternoon, early Thursday night. Who is this suspect? How old are they? What they did at Kentmore Cabinets? What was the possible relation of the victim to the suspect? We don't really have any indication of those details just yet. And so that's what I'll be looking for. And so unfortunately we did lose those aerial pictures, but we do have this ground shot. And we'll be keeping this up. Maybe we'll be hearing from police. I know they just briefed the public about more information. All right, and right now, we're going to be joined by law enforcement expert Darren Wyatt. He's joining us here on NewsNOW from the phone. Darren, thanks for being with us here to kind of go into a little more detail about what law enforcement do in situations like this.
Yeah, so Andrew, I think that the thing that's foremost in an officer's mind when they're responding to a call like this is the shooter is still present. If you remember, just last week we had one here in Orange County, California, when the officer arrived on scene. The suspect was still there, and they engaged him and eliminated the threat with, I believe, 4 deceased parties there. So first and foremost is going to be, is the suspect still there? Once they're able to determine that the suspect has probably fled, then the first thing is to render aid to those who have been injured, and then it rolls into the investigation of trying to identify and locate who the suspect is.
And so, Darren, since we do know that the suspect fled the scene before officers arrived, kind of give us a sense of the search, the manhunt for a suspect that, we now know lasted for well over possibly 3 hours. So what are they looking for? Do they follow any of the leads? Do they have, leads they go into with this about possible locations, family members, social media, the like?
So it's all encompassing. The first thing that they do is it'll be all hands on deck. Every detective from that police department would be on scene, and most likely neighboring agencies as well to assist with that. They'll be looking for video cameras. They'll be interviewing witnesses to see if any of the witnesses knew who the suspect was and could provide that identification, and then going for the search to locate him. If somebody can't tell them who the suspect is, they'll be doing interviews with the business owners to see if there's a disgruntled employee, if there was a disgruntled customer that they'd had a recent dispute with. Anything that would provide a motive or a lead that they could follow up on. I know that in this case, it did end up being a disgruntled employee. We don't know what the person was upset about or what led to the shooting, but it's a classic workplace violence incident is what we're looking at now.
And Darren, it looks like we just lost our pictures. We're going to go, we have a map up of the scene itself, and we're going to put that on the screen here. This is, right outside, not too far from Texas A&M University, but it's a massive commercial complex, Darren, almost, 200 to 300 employees, and police are now taking witness statements, interviewing them. How long normally would they be on the scene doing this? The investigation seems to be pretty massive.
Oh, yeah, it'll be huge. And like I said, it's all hands on deck. They'll have every detective that they have out there, as well as, probably officers assigned to other details that are pulling double duty to interview these witnesses. It'll go well into the night, and it could go throughout the night. I know that the scene that we had in Orange just the other day, they held the scene for 2 or 3 days. And that could be the case here, depending on what kind of forensic evidence is there. We know that there will be a prosecution. They have to build a case to take to court so that we can ensure that there is a conviction of the person who is responsible for this tragedy. So you only have one bite at the apple, so they're going to take as long as they need to take to make sure that everything is done thoroughly and properly.
All right, Darren Wyatt, thanks so much for joining us here on News Now from Fox to break that all down for us. Speak to you again.
Thanks, Andrew.
You can wrap. I'm going to go end the YouTube stream after you sign off. Don't go on camera.
All right, and so we unfortunately lost our live pictures from the scene, but we have this map up because, we do have some back. Let's go to this right now. It looks like some of these employees from Kentmore Cabinets leaving the scene, possibly leaving their workplace. Didn't expect this when they got to work on Thursday, just any old day, and now we're learning, if you just want to get you up to speed on this story, that one person died at the scene, 4 victims in critical condition in the Texas workplace shooting there this afternoon. And so we just want to put this map up yet again. A suspect is in custody, so we will be following this story on News Now from Fox for the foreseeable future here on this Thursday. Myself and Daytona Everett will be following any more updates, who the suspect is, a possible motive. Remember, they were an employee at this business, and so we are going to end our coverage of this at the moment. We have lots more to get to, but thanks for being with us here on News Now from Fox. I'm Andrew Kraft. And just lastly, 1 dead and 4 victims in critical condition at that Texas workplace shooting in Bryan, Texas on this Thursday afternoon.